Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Bring Back Soul Music Podcast. My special guest today is one of the most talented musicians around, Mr. Jeff Bradshaw. Mr. Bradshaw, how you doing today, sir?
Oh man, all is blessed and all is well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I know you got a new album out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jeff Bradshaw 20 to
Yes, sir.
well, for your 20th year in the music business, right?
No. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
20th. It's I've been in the music business 29 years. It is the 20th anniversary. It's the 20th anniversary of my first album, Bone
Oh,
Deep.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so this is my 20th year as a recording artist. And this is the
Gotcha.
20th, yeah, celebrating the 20th anniversary of my first album.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Got it. Okay. Well, welcome to the Bring Back Soul Music Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I gotta admit, I talked to a friend of mine yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
he said he seen you at in Detroit over the weekend, and he said you was it the weekend or the weekend before with Patti LaBelle?
A few weeks ago, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he said you brought the house down. He said
Thank you, man.
he said you did your thing, man. So
Uh, I appreciate that, man. I
yeah,
appreciate it. I
yeah.
try to bring the party, man. I try
Yeah,
to
I
bring
saw
the
you on
party.
another interview, and that's what you said. You said when I come, I try to bring the party.
I bring the party. I try to bring the party. I mean, because people come out to have a good time, and there's enough amazing soul jazz and contemporary instrumental music, contemporary jazz, or whatever people are calling themselves. There's enough of that. You know, and I just try to bring something different. I try to bring a party. People want to come out and have a good time, and I try to bring the Jeff Bradshaw experience, which is great music, energy, or funk, soul, hip hop party.
Okay. All right. I know this is the Jeff Bradshaw 20, but
Mhm.
for those who don't know much about Jeff Bradshaw, tell us about Jeff Bradshaw.
Jeff Bradshaw is a young kid from Philly, born and raised in North Philly. Grew up in church. Um, Grew up with both my mother and my father. Norman Bradshaw, Carrie Bradshaw. My mom's name, it really is Carrie Bradshaw. And my dad, the late Norman Bradshaw. Raised in church, man. And my father was a multi-instrumentalist. He played guitar, trumpet, tuba. He sang, and he also played trombone. And he was also a youth minister for about 40 years. So I grew up in a very religious household, but a very musical household. My father was a great musician, so there was always great music being played, from gospel to jazz and R&B. And my sisters loved music, so it was always music, surrounded by music in my home. My father taught me how to play trombone. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that I'm a self-taught musician. That I didn't go to music school to learn how to play trombone. That I was born with a lot of musical gifts, and my father taught me how to play trombone. Taught me how to play it like singers. He taught me to play old gospel songs, old Negro spirituals, and uh, that's how I learned to play trombone. So I have a very lyrical style of playing, different from other trombone players. That's why I'm known. I sound the way I sound, because I'm singing with the trombone. It's like an extension of my voice. That's what Jeff Bradshaw did. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then went on to pop out into the Philly music scene and play clubs like Silk City and Wilhelmina's and the Black Lily, which is a famed music venue in Philly where artists will come and jam, and met Jazzy Jeff and these producers um, that were working at Touch of Jazz Recordings. The legendary DJ Jazzy Jeff, for those who do and don't know. He had a production house called A Touch of Jazz Productions, and he had six amazing producers: Andre Harris, Vidal Davis, Carvin Higgins, Ivan Barris, Keith Pelser, Darren Henson. These were the producers who gave us Floetry, who gave us Music Soul Child, who gave us Jill Scott, and many others, many other big records with many other big artists like Earth, Wind and Fire, Michael Jackson, Sierra, Chris Brown, Usher. Um, these all became my family, all became my brothers, and was hanging out down there with them, playing on every record I could play on, just trying to figure it out, trying to find my place. And from there, I went from playing the clubs in Philly and not jazz clubs in Philly. I started playing in like hip hop and with hip hop clubs with DJs, and playing with a live band with DJs and playing hip hop with a gentleman by the name of Jafar Barron, trumpet player, band leader, and then went on from there from playing those records with just gotten those people that I was able to blessed to be able to go on tour with with most of those Philly artists, the Roots, Jill Scott. As far as Philly, I've toured with Jill Scott and Music Soul Child and the Roots, and was a musical director for Floetry, and went on to play and perform with Mick Jaguar Wright and the Jazzy Fat Nasties and as far as Philly, Patti LaBelle now currently still touring with Patti LaBelle as a special guest, but went on to tour with Jay-Z and Mary J. Blige and Kurt Franklin and Dave Chappelle and Tyler Perry and many others. I toured with some of the biggest artists in the world and recorded with some of the biggest artists in the world. So most of your favorite artists that most people listen to, their favorite artists in soul music, I've either recorded with them on their albums or I've toured with them. And so it's truly been a blessed career thus far, playing the trombone, and being a dual threat, because my music goes through two portals. It goes through smooth jazz and it goes through soul R&B because of all the features. For many people that don't know my music, on my albums, I featured people like Jill Scott, and Kenny Lattimore, Will Downing, Trombone Shorty, Najee, Black Thought from the Roots, and Raheem Devon, Eric Roberson, Robert Glasper, Tweet. Those are the people that have been on my albums. Moonchild, so that's some Jeff Bradshaw. I'm a unicorn. I'm a unicorn, man.
Yeah, it was so impressive, man. And when I read your bio, when I read that you were from Philadelphia, speak for a minute, just historically, all the great artists that came out of that era, that Philadelphia area, even going back to like Pearl Bailey and Frankie Beverly, the OJs. I mean, all those great art, LaBelle. What was it like growing up in that kind of atmosphere?
I felt like the atmosphere I grew up with was in church, but my listening ear, of course, obviously being a young man, I only knew about certain things and certain artists, but because my father was such a music kid, I got to learn about Pearl Bailey and TSOP, the Sound of Philadelphia, and Gamble and Huff and the Philly International Sound, and Philly International Records with Kenny Gamble, Mr. Kenny Gamble, and Mr. Leon Huff. Are the gold standard of Philadelphia. But obviously with those artists that you mentioned, then all the artists that I mentioned, but then you had like James Cleveland. You go back to gospel, man. You had James Cleveland recorded his first album with the Philadelphia Mass Choir. I mean, we're gonna go all the way back. We can go all the way back. I mean, then you have Ty Tribbett, and who's from the Philadelphia area. I think Ty's from Camden. But we've had so many great genres of music. I mean, you can go back all the way back to jazz. You can go to jazz and go back to some of the greats, Philly Joe Jones and Grover Washington Jr. If you want to go on the contemporary side, you can go John Coltrane. I mean, we have so much rich history in our city, man, and it's an honor to be able to say that you're not from here, but you're a part of the musical. You're a part of that the musical tree of great musicians and great producers and great writers. Tom Bell and all of these great writers, Bunny Sigler, Tom Bell, all of these great writers who gave us, these great songs from like the Stylistics and the Manhattans and the Shy-Lights, Phyllis Hyman. We have so much great history in this city. And to be able to, tap into the soil of this rich music history in our town, man, it's a blessing to be able to be included in that, to be able to understand that you have a responsibility once you become a national recording artist, and then once you become a successful national and international recording artist, that you have a responsibility to continue to raise the bar from where they left it and take music to another level. But understand that understand the shoulders that you stand on. And I'm very clear, I'm very clear about the shoulders that I stand on and the people and the legends that have come before us that gave us the Philadelphia music scene.
Okay, well, you represent Philadelphia very well, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's get into this new album, Jeff Bradshaw
Oh,
20.
ooh.
First of all, how long did it take you to record this album?
Start to finish, 11 months.
11 months. Okay. All right.
It's is it the shortest? I think it's the shortest it ever took me. It's right around the shortest time it ever took me. Because it normally takes me, once I get started, and because I like to work with a lot of different guest artists, a lot of different special guests, I love to bring so many different talented people in on the records. It normally takes me about a year and a half to 2 years from start to finish. But this record, I was very intentional about beginning and finishing this record, and I was very intentional about wanting the album to come out at the beginning part of 2023, because my last album came out in 2020, Stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very intentional about getting it done. I knew who I wanted to work with. Um, I wasn't like kind of fishing around. I wonder who would sound good on that. I mean, I knew who I wanted to work with. I just had to work with the right producers and find the right people to make this a masterpiece. And I think I did that. This is my best work, and that's saying a lot.
Absolutely.
For people that know my music and the people that will now go back and listen to my other 4 albums. Uh, this is my best work, and it's my most diverse album. I think trying to a lot of times try to keep things in a good vibe so people don't jump from song to song. I think I've done a good job of that so far. But this album was one of those like Afro beats is something that I really love, and met a great African artist named Saint Ezekiel from Ghana. Met him at Jazzy Jeff's house, at Jazzy Jeff's playlist retreat, and wow, man, and being able to do some jazz with a little hip hop on it, and be able to, record a great gospel song with the great B Slade, formerly known as Tone, and being able to work with Raheem Devon again, being able to work with Philly hip hop underground king, Mr. Chill Moody, being able to work with Eric Roberson again, because the last time we did a single together, it was probably one of my most successful singles. It was a great. I got to record a lot of music that I love, and this is I think uh, outside of my first album, Bone Deep, which we're celebrating the commemoration of the Bone Deep coming out November 4th, 2003. I think this is truly my most diverse album, and I really believe that it is my best work.
All right. And the fact that you consider it your most diverse, is that what makes it your best album or your best work so far?
Yes and no. It's a part of the reason why it's been. One, every year I evolve and continue to get better. We're all students. We're all students all the way through. Even the masters say that they're still students of the game. We're continually learning. We continue to evolve and grow. So I'm a better trombone player than I was, from the last album. I'm a better trombone player. I'm a better producer. Uh, I'm a better performer. My listening ear for working with the right producers, my ears are better. And so I'm more creative now. And so that's what we want to do. You always want to continue to evolve as a musician, a producer, and a writer. And as a trombone player, you just want to continue to get better. And as I listen to this album and my approach to every song, I'm like, man, boy, you a bad boy. You go back and listen to it and be like, wow, I was in my bag.
That's so important. You say that you didn't come complacent. You're always trying to grow and get better. And I think that's one of life's lessons, just to
Yes.
not rest on what you've done in the past, but always trying to push it forward.
Always trying to evolve. You don't
Always
want all
trying to
your records
evolve.
to
Yes,
evolve.
sir.
If you go listen to my albums back to back to back, you'll hear that I continue to evolve as a producer in my concepts and the people that I work with. I work with some younger producers on this record that are fans of mine, that are friends of mine, that understand what I'm trying to do. I understand that I'm also trying to evolve. My music is still Jeff Bradshaw music, but it's still coming along and aligning with the times.
Okay. How has it been received by your fans and the general public?
This is the most. This is the most. Uh, that too. I'm at record numbers and streaming right now after a month out. This is the most any album I've ever had been streamed the most in I guess a little over a month now. We're in the fifth week now of the album. The most streams we've had, the most spins at radio, uh, the most requests for interviews. You're doing. This is my second media day.
Oh, is that right?
It's the most interviews I've ever done. I think people, I think the music is definitely speaking for itself. I think my video, the first single, "Make Some Time with Eric Roberson." I think I looked at YouTube the other day, and it's at the 4 weeks, we're at 37,000 views in 4 weeks. So I think the people have spoken, and I think that that the music is speaking for itself, and people really love this album. Man. I get messages and comments in my inbox and in my DM. People taking pictures of my list of them listening to my song on the radio, taking pictures of the song on Sirius XM or whatever city they're in. It's on the radio wherever they are. They take videos of it and they send it to me. It feels so good, man, to know that the album is being received and loved the way I love it, because I don't put any music out that I don't love. Because isn't that why we do this?
Yeah,
Because we're fans
absolutely.
of we're fans of music. We're music fans,
Yeah.
and so I don't put out music unless I love it, and I have to love it. There's no okay, we could put that on there. That'll fit the rest of the album. No, every song on my albums, um, I love every song, and because if I don't love it, I can't give you something that I don't love, and I wouldn't do that. And so I love this record. I love every song on it. I had to force myself not to listen to it every day. You know, I do,
Right.
man. I do. I had to force myself not to listen to it every day. But I'm truly, truly inspired and just humbled by so much love that's being poured out about this album.
Yeah. Do you feel that speaking the reception you've gotten, excuse me, do you feel that perhaps that style or maybe craftsmanship was missing from the music scene?
Without
Um,
question.
yeah,
Without question. There was no Jeff Bradshaw before I got here. I'm in my own lane as a trombone player in contemporary music. I'm in my own lane. There was no Jeff Bradshaw before I got here. There were, and I know that, and I say this with all humility.
of course.
I say this with all humility. I know that I am inspired and continue to inspire other trombone players around the world. That we're taking our place out front. Myself, Trombone Shorty, who's in a completely different genre of music, but is my brother and has been on two of my albums. You know, keeping it diverse. But I know that I inspire a legion of trombone players to now feel like, hey, we don't have to be, just in the horn section. That trombone is going to be and is now a standout instrument. And as long as there are people like myself, as long as there are people like Trombone Shorty, and other great trombone players around the world in contemporary music,
Mhm.
I'm trying to do something that's only been done once, and that's by one of my idols, Mr. Fred Wesley from the JBs. He had a hit song on R&B radio called House Party. And he was like one of the first trombone players to have a R&B single on R&B radio, mainstream. And I'm just trying to pick up that torch and run with it and take it to another level. And I think with our number 5, 20 years later, I think we are definitely succeeding at that. We're definitely cracking that grid, putting a big crack in that glass ceiling, and that glass ceiling, and about to really break this thing down.
Yeah, I agree. I've always loved the horn section. I'm old school, and I've always loved whether it was Earth, Wind, and Fire or Parliament or whoever had a great horn section. And it seems like that sort of disappeared, for a while. But I'm glad you and, like you said, Trombone Shorty and other musicians are bringing it back, because there's nothing like a horn section,
Yeah, I mean, and there's some great artists that like when I toured with Jill, she had a horn section. Maxwell travels with a horn section. Cassette Michelle's now traveling with a horn section. A lot of artists now are traveling, especially a lot of the soul bass, like Kim from Detroit, the R&B artist Kim. He tours with a horn section. I'm touring right now with Patti LaBelle with a horn section. So the horn sections are back, and we're back strong. And but to be a trombone artist, a solo trombone artist out front, that's where I'm kind of like in my own lane.
Yes.
I'm in uncharted waters, and I love it because I know that I'm inspiring so many to come after me.
Right. So you don't mind taking on the moniker of Trailblazer. You're a trailblazer.
I have no problem with that. There was a time I felt like, people are using the words like, trailblazer, legend, and all of that. And after 29 years in the music business, and now celebrating 20 years as an artist, I humbly I receive that. I receive that people think I'm a legend. That's not for me to say, but they call me that, and I'm okay with it. I feel like I've put enough work in on the road and at concerts, and I think I put enough music. My music catalog speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And so, we're right in the middle of summer. You said you're touring with Patti LaBelle. Are there any more? Well, I'm sorry, there's some more dates that you guys are going to do throughout the year, or at least throughout the summer.
Oh yeah.
How's the tour going so far?
Oh man, I have been on my tour and touring with Patti LaBelle as a special guest.
Okay.
I've been with Patti now for I've been with Miss LaBelle since 2012.
Oh wow.
And I'll be with her all year as a special guest, and all my shows will be all around that. All of my tour will be all around those dates. So between on tour with Patti LaBelle as her guest, and she features me in her show, and during my own shows, we're gonna be rocking and rolling all year, coming to a city near you.
It's that Philadelphia connection, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mr. Bradshaw, tell people how they can reach out to you on social media.
Oh man, I made it really easy on all social media. It's I am Jeff Bradshaw. I am Jeff Bradshaw on all social media, and they can download my new album, Jeff Bradshaw Touring, on all streaming platforms.
All right. Mr. Bradshaw, I appreciate you taking the time out today, sir. Tried to get you the last time you were doing media, but we couldn't work it out. But I'm glad I finally got you. It's a pleasure speaking to you, man, and continue success with you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me. Let's go.
All right. Hey, that's Jeff Bradshaw on the Bring Back Soul Music podcast, and we'll be right back.
Calling all lovers of soul music. The time to make soul music relevant again is now. You've been listening to the Bring Back Soul Music podcast with Todd Woodson. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to tell a friend. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to our newsletter at bringbacksoulmusic.com.